fucking... Sounds like your dance card's full already with dudes taking you to dinner. So he goes, hey, do you mind if the three of us with you? And I go, well, I was going to treat, but now we'll have to split the check.
I was about to say, you split the checks on that one, right?
I go, who's this guy? Who's this third guy now?
I hope he's blowing you.
I'm going to go to fucking... And he goes, well, we could just do Tom and me. Your call. But this guy is a big PR guy for comedians.
Puerto Rican?
And he's been helping him get some financing for his documentary. And then he gives me a link to a Variety magazine article about this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And right? And it's like, I guess he's worked with some real big shots, like Judd Apatow and stuff like that.
Is he the one that told Judd Apatow to acquire masks at live shows?
Because that's funny.
That was some great advice.
I don't know this fucking guy.
You know how PR was invented? Was for that Rockefeller. I don't know if it's Nelson. Who's the first Rockefeller that was rich? The guy that built up the fortune, the initial Rockefeller. Everybody hated the guy's guts. So they hired someone to make people like, oh, we love that guy. And that was the beginning of liking billionaires. That's...
I thought like my friend was going to be alone in town. I'm like, okay, I'll help you out. I'll take you out. No, I get it.
You could use a good PR guy.
No, I got to go.
I understand you're far right, first of all. A dirtbag.
That's right. Guys,
you love Russia, you hate women, and you're racist.
The 3 W's.
Yeah.
Okay, over to Steph.
I can't wait to hear more about this story. Okay, that's right. It's thing. Somebody says, "Hey, you know what? Let's have Glenn Greenwald back on." We love Glenn. Can't wait to have him
Glenn
on.
Greenwald is always too busy. First of all, we do our shows at the same time.
Right? We got to just do a pre-recording with him.
So come here, come to me for a second.
Go to Jimmy.
So guys like Glenn Greenwald.
I think
Ringwald, I believe. Glenn Ringwald.
Molly Ringwald's brother, Glenn.
Yes.
They do an hour show every day. Why not just do what I do? I do 3 hours 3 times a week. First of all, that's 9 hours. So he's only doing 5 hours a week. I'm doing 9. So I'm doing like 3 extra shows. But why not double up? Why not do 2 hours on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and have 2 days off? I don't know. I guess because news breaks every day or something. That's just the way my brain works. But
I don't
anyway,
even want you doing 3 shows a week.
I don't even want my ideal. I would just do 2 days a week, Tuesday and Thursday, and then I would tour Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's my ideal. That's the ideal. But we'll see what happens. I have a new agent, Tyler. We'll see how it goes. I have my fingers crossed. I don't need promoters.
No, good PR guy, you know.
I do not need, what do they call those? A promoter, right?
It's like a lawyer for the media. So
no,
like
I know what a PR guy. No, I'm talking about when you go on tour and they have a promoter.
Oh, God.
A show promoter.
Like, I don't need that. There's no reason I need that. What a promoter is supposed to do is help sell tickets for you. No one in the world can help sell tickets for me except myself.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Have they heard of single ticket buyers? Because you can't promote that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that just happened. We got a date in Texas, and they're doing that bullshit where they sell it by the table instead. And I said, I go, hey, I got to sell single tickets. He goes, well, they said if it's a deal breaker, they'll do that. I go, no, it's a deal breaker.
Yeah, what?
It's a deal breaker.
What it is.
It's a deal breaker.
Movie theaters. You got to buy more than one ticket.
There's no other place in the world where they make you buy more than one ticket to go see an entertainment. If I go to a Dodger game or a Rams game,
That was COVID shit.
If
And
I-
now it's over.
if I go to see a concert, or if I go to a restaurant, nobody ever makes me buy more than one ticket, except certain comedy clubs.
It's COVID shit. It's like people still wear masks
And-
except of their
And it must be
whatever.
easier
So
for the club.
I was talking to my
Yeah.
agent this morning, and I said, "Hey, he said if it's that they'll sell the tickets as usual, and then if you don't sell out, they'll make them available." No. We make them available starting,
Yeah.
and he goes, "Well, if it's a deal breaker, deal is broken."
By the way, here's how much you don't need a promoter. You can break that deal anytime you want, whenever that bullshit comes up.
Yeah. A promoter just takes 10% of my money for no reason, for doing nothing.
Yo, go DJ a wedding, motherfucker. That's what you are.
Yeah,
You're some shitty ass DJ.
I'm doing it. That's why I like the four wall. I don't need a promoter.
The most shady fucking people on the planet,
You know,
aside from health insurance CEOs.
back to Steph. So last Friday we had a show at Flappers, fun show. Chris Keene, one of our guest comics, had a great set. Jimmy had a great set. I did too. But right before I went on stage, this young woman came up to me and she goes, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, what? And she said her name was Paula. I'm like, what? Paula? And I looked at this young woman. I'm like, I know who you are. And she goes, you were my 7th grade English teacher at Marshall. That's right. And I couldn't believe it. She was so sweet. Her husband, Aiden, is a fan of the Jimmy Dore show. And she was watching the show one time and she spotted me on it. I'm like, wow. And so, so excited. So that had to be like in 1995. She was my 7th grade student. And she invited me to her baby shower. How cute is that? And I can't go, which I would have gone. She told me 3 other students she's still friends with that I taught. I would have gone. Then I would have drank, got too drunk, started to swear, and talk about politics. But I thought that is the second student this year that I've run into. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And then I was thinking about all my teachers. All my teachers must be dead now, right? Like junior high and high school, they must be dead. Maybe they went to justify giving Secret Service protection to healthcare executives so they make them victims of hate crimes. Sound chaser. Hey, maybe it was to protect the elites. They're after us. Too perfect. At Lacey. Thank you. By the way, I couldn't post the previous rant on YouTube. I'm not sure why, JK. Joe Biden just wants to eat ice cream and sniff young girls' hair. I think he wants more than that, JK. I thought it was weird, too, until I found out that he left and spent rounds at the scene, meaning live rounds had been ejected when he cleared the jams, Agent Archer.
He carved. Didn't he take the time to carve something into them?
Well, yeah, that was, deny,
Want you to read 'em.
defend. But also, I read today, I'm not sure if you read this, too, but I read today that they had found DNA of the shooter, supposedly on a water bottle that he disposed of, and on those bullets, perhaps. And they said, even though the person had never committed a crime before, they could still link his DNA. And I'm like, ugh. And that was from, Jimmy and team. I was wondering if you're going to cover Scott Ritter's No Nuclear War Conference tomorrow in D.C.
Well, he didn't fucking tell me about it.
We didn't get any info. Come on, dude. Send us some info. That would have been helpful to promote the conference. And of course, No Nuclear War Conference sounds like a good idea. We forgive you, Jimmy. That was from T-Box about running late. Kate Cott was, I'm not seeing Elon throw down on this CEO story on X. Wonder how single-payer healthcare fits into his anti-establishment libertarianism.
I'd like to have on...
Back to Jimmy.
There's 2 people I want to have on. I want to have on Kash Patel, but I don't think any of the people who are nominated are going to do interviews right now because they want to make sure they get confirmed. Like I invited on Jay Bhattacharya, who's the new head of the NIH, and they're not. He came on my show whenever I asked before, and now radio silence. So I don't expect Tulsi to come on or RFK Jr. By the way, I congratulated them both by text, and I nothing. and hear nothing back. I'm just going to let you know. It hurts my feelings. Hurts my feelings. And I almost didn't text them congratulations just for that reason. That if they don't return it, it's going to hurt my feelings. I got to protect myself. But Steph made me. Steph made me. She's like, go on, text them. I'm like, come on, text them.
I don't think that's a good impression of me, by the way.
You made me.
I don't think, go on, text them. That doesn't sound like me.
I nailed it.
Because you did text them.
But I want to get on Kash Patel or Elon Musk. I want to bring on Elon Musk to talk about what ideas you have over Social Security exactly. What is this? You're tweeting out, you're retweeting Senator Mike Lee's we gotta get rid of Social Security. The one fucking thing that works in this government.
You know, by the way, with the Medicare for all, because I've heard all the argument. I love all the needlehead fucking paper push arguments about which system works. If you got a better system than Medicare for all, do it. Where is it? They never do it. They go, oh, we had them compete and the prices. Okay, do that one.
Well, that's what the libertarians say.
Yeah, well, do it. Where the fuck is it?
What?
Do the thing where I could, hey.
Where on earth has this worked? Where on earth? Can you point to anywhere on earth where this has worked? Letting the
maybe it's an amazing new invention. I'll give you that. You're not doing shit. So it just stays the same nightmare forever.
So what I say is we propose a insurance company that insures everybody. How about that? It starts at the Atlantic and it ends at Hawaii. Everybody's included. How about that?
That sounds like that could never work, Jimmy, because how would that be profitable? Like,
how would that be profitable?
You know, like here's something that's profitable. Sending all your money to fucking Ukraine. A thing that's profitable. We got to do those kind of things.
So I saw this on Twitter. So I don't know who wrote this. I think there's a name for this. And it's called Flood the Country with Immigrants, Go After Citizens That Complain About It, Instigate Riots Between Citizens and Immigrants. This all happened. Mm-hmm. Implement police state complete with surveillance and facial recognition cameras everywhere. Problem, reaction, solution. So but first of all, I don't know if this slide is racist or a conspiracy theory or a racist conspiracy theory, but I do know whoever wrote this loves Russia and hates women.
Yes. Thank you for saying it. I was about to say it if you didn't.
This sounds like the Great Replacement theory. You know, that nonsense term that morons and liars use.
No, I'm not familiar with it.
The same liars and morons who used to say demographics are destiny.
Which is infinitely more racist, I would like to point out.
That's right.
It's the same fucking thing, too. I mean, that's hilarious.
So here's Kier Starmer. So he's the prime minister right now of the UK, correct?
Yeah, not much longer.
A perfectly square head. That's what I like about him. He looks like Bert. Well, Bert's more of a cone head.
When I was a kid, they would say that's a punchable face. That's what they would say.
Yeah, it's so good.
Him and
blockhead.
The only one,
blockhead.
Not even Michael Rappaport has a more punchable. Well,
he doesn't.
At least not if you're wearing protective gloves. I'm not saying anybody should punch anybody. I'm just saying when I was a kid, that's what we would say about that face. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, go punch rectangle head. Is that the kind of things you would say in your school?
So this guy, Geiger Capital, says, holy S. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer just admitted that Western leaders have been running an open borders experiment. You want to see him admit it? Watch this. You think I'm kidding? Watch this.
What the British people are owed is an explanation. Because a failure on this scale isn't just bad luck. It isn't a global trend or taking your eye off the ball. No, this is a different order of failure.
What?
This happened by design, not accident. Policies were reformed deliberately to liberalise immigration. Brexit was used for that purpose, to turn Britain into a one-nation experiment in open borders.
What?
Global Britain.
That's the Prime Minister saying that.
Yeah.
That First of all, why is he saying they did that? I mean, we.
Yeah, he was work for Five Eyes.
Yeah. Remember when they used to say Global Britain? Watch this.
Remember that slogan?
Global Britain.
That is what they meant. A policy with no support, of which they then pretended wasn't happening.
I can't believe he keeps saying they. He keeps saying they. And then they did pretend it wasn't happening. They did the same thing here in the United States.
Called you racist for saying it's happening, and people I know personally still think it's not happening.
Right, they still think it's not happening.
Evidently, that's the pronoun that they want to choose.
They, yeah.
They.
Yeah. Oh, he's non-binary. That's why he's saying that.
And then they denied it was happening.
Well, the British people.
But by the way, you want to know why this is so crazy? Because this is what he said in 2020.
Right. We need to make the wider case on immigration. We welcome migrants. We don't scapegoat them. Low wages, poor housing, poor public services are not the fault of migrants and people.
Wow. So that's really different than the thing he said later that we just looked at earlier.
What?
So in 2020, this is what he was saying in 2020. This is
We
what
need to make the wider case on immigration. We welcome migrants. We don't scapegoat them. Low wages, poor housing, poor public services are not the fault of migrants and people.
So isn't that amazing? And then this is what he just said this week. This is what he said. Listen to this.
What the British people are owed is an explanation.
Yeah. From fucking you. They're owed an explanation from you.
Does someone have a blackmail tape on him? What is the...
Because a failure on this scale isn't just bad luck. It isn't a global trend or taking your eye off the ball. No, this is a different order of failure. This happened by design, not accident.
Is
Policies
he
were
anti-Semitic?
reformed deliberately to liberalise immigration. Brexit was used for that purpose.
Brexit was used for that. He's blaming Brexit?
So the point of
The
Brexit
exact
was to not
opposite.
have that.
The exact
Yeah.
opposite. The point of Brexit was the exact opposite of that.
By the way, global... What do they call it? Global England or whatever? What did they just say? That's like old school colonialism.
Yeah, global
from back in the
Britain.
day. Yeah, well, that was
It's
that's
one-
in the last of the Mohicans movie. Make the world Britain.
It's one thing to flood the United States with immigrants. It's one thing to
Right.
flood the United States with immigrants, to try to suppress wages
Mm-hmm.
and create friction between workers and even poorer people and mess with the
Yeah.
culture. It's one thing because the United States was built on immigration. The UK was not.
Yeah,
England
they're
was not.
indigenous.
England was not built on that.
They're the indigenous people. The
Yes.
British.
Do you know what the number one baby name is in
What?
England? Mohammed.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's a good name. I might use that for my baby.
I love that name. Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that name.
Call him
But-
Mo. Hey, Mo, what's up? Mo Metzger.
So there he is pretending it was blaming this on Brexit. What else does he say?
To turn Britain into a one-nation experiment in open borders.
A one nation experiment. We're doing that.
Hang on.
And so the
Remember
other
that
nations.
slogan?
Come on. Hold on. Let me play this.
In open borders. Global Britain. Remember that slogan? That is what they meant. A policy with no support, of which they then pretended wasn't happening.
And the they that he's talking about is him.
There's still people in prison that he put in prison for tweeting about it.
That's right. If this was a movie, he would not be cast as the good guy. Believe me. He'd be the weak backstabbing traitor who fucks everybody over.
Yeah, he's an MI5 operative that covered up the Jimmy Savile shit.
And so now the cult, your shit liberal cult has sent him out to do damage control for a failed experiment. I don't even really think it's a failed experiment. It's a success
Yeah, no, that was
because
the
it
goal.
ruined the economy just like it was designed to do. It dispossessed the poor right on schedule. It ruined the lives of innocent people who complained about it. It locked fascism into place. And oh yeah, blame Brexit. Don't blame the deep state banking claw that holds the Western world at bay. Blame Brexit,
Yeah.
not the real people doing this.
Yeah. And don't you dare say who's doing it, or I'm going to accuse you of Jewish space lasers.
So, as I've said, the Biden administration opened our nation's borders on purpose. This is kind of proof of that. You're simply lying to yourself if you still think otherwise. They have been flying 30,000 illegal immigrants into the country every month. We covered this.
Yeah.
We covered
They're flying
that.
them in.
They're
Never mind
flying
the
them in.
border. They were flying them in with an app. By the way, how's it hard to get your insurance payments, but it's easy to illegally enter the country with a fucking app? How is that possible?
So I
They
just
can't do Medicare. They could do that though. They could fly 30,000 illegals in.
here's this.
Right.
I can't get
we
over
need
it.
to make the wider case on immigration.
We need to make
welcome.
We welcome. This is just 4 years ago. He's saying that. Maybe he misread the teleprompter because he wasn't wearing his glasses.
That's got to be what it is. He got his eyes checked and he realized the numbers were not what he thought. The wider, he's really gaping the case for immigration right there.
Polish housewife says when Kier Starmer says they open the borders by design, he typically omits the fact that he and his party were cheerleaders for open borders. He's currently locking people up for complaining about
Yeah.
the consequences, just as you
Bit
said,
more than a
Kurt.
cheerleader.
This
He's
is
an enforcer.
I can't.
You know who should experiment with open borders? Fucking Israel.
Yeah. It was extremely obvious. It was coordinated, meaning this open border policy. It was extremely obvious. It was coordinated, given it hit every Western country at the same time. But the governments are merely the pawns. We know the UN NGOs are facilitators. We know that the WEF and its ilk are what we can see as the conductors. But who is orchestrating?
Mm-hmm.
He's blaming Brexit. I think that is the point he's trying to convey, which is laughable. But the left needs something to blame.
Well, he said Brexit was used.
Open borders policies in Britain came from establishment left and right, just like in the United States. There's nothing to do with Brexit. Of course not. You know who caught on to this? So this is Viktor Orban, a guy who they want you to think is the next Hitler, just like they said the same thing about Trump here. Why? Because he wants to close the borders in his country. That's a big reason. He's also doing a power grab, but that's what normal politicians do. Laugh my ass off. We already knew this from Twitter. That's why this platform is better than the media. Viktor Orban, the prime minister of Hungary, he announced that they were going to do this before they did it in 2019. You want to hear him say it? Watch this.
I do remember how Mr. George Soros published his plan in English.
So George Soros wrote an op-ed where he laid this plan out. And here's Viktor Orban. He's going to quote from it. Watch this.
Oh, that's racist.
I do remember how Mr. George Soros published his plan in English in a Project Syndicate publication. It was done 2015, September 26. And he published a plan. He said that I'm quoting, here are the 6 components of my comprehensive plan. I just quote 2 or 3 points of that. First is, he said very clearly, 2015, that, quoting again, EU has to accept at least 1 million asylum seekers annually.
In 2015, George Soros wrote an editorial where he said Europe has to accept 1 million asylum seekers annually.
Why?
At least. Why? Why? Here's why. Here's why.
That was the first point. Second, he said, adequate financing is critical. And
So he said adequate financing is critical. The reason why, Kurt, I'll jump to the punchline, is because Europeans aren't making enough babies. We just heard Bill Clinton just said that on the campaign trail. We're not making enough babies in America, so we got to import workers. That is all bullshit.
Right. Well,
That
'cause
is
people can't
bullshit.
afford it because they don't get paid enough.
That's right.
And they want more money. So that's why we
right.
need the new workers to take less money. because
The
they'll be
real
so grateful.
the real unemployment rate in America is somewhere between 10 and 20%. Do you know during the Great Depression the unemployment was 25%? So the
And
way
they
they
had nicer hat. Yeah.
so the way they figure out unemployment now artificially lowers the unemployment rate. The unemployment rate is probably around 15, maybe even 20%. And so when Bill Clinton and those liars tell you that we need to import workers, that's a lie. What they want is to import cheap labor to suppress the wages of American workers. That's what they mean. And Viktor Orban is onto it because this is a George Soros big idea.
Oh,
and he
that
said-
guy's the best.
So the first part is you got to let in 1 million asylum seekers every year. Then you have to finance it. Well, how do you do that? You borrow. Hey, watch this.
Proposed to issue long-term euro bonds.
Euro
For financing-
bonds. So Euro bonds for financing.
Wow.
To finance the migration crisis and the migrants. And how much do you want to give them?
Migration crisis and the migrants' social and welfare taking.
You know how they were giving credit cards, debit cards, and hotel rooms to migrants all
They
over?
borrowed for that.
Yeah, you know how they did. This is the plan. This came right from George Soros. Watch this.
When they arrive to the European Union. And another point which is very important for Hungary, which is involving the territory of Hungary directly into this program, he said that, quoting them, safe channels must be established for asylum seekers, starting with getting them from Greece and Italy to their destination countries.
So migration channels have to be established to get them from Greece and Italy. Well, where did they come from?
Human trafficking.
They came from Libya. They came from Iraq. They came from Somalia. All the countries we're doing economic war on.
Yeah. You know, I think that's kind of nice, Jimmy. We're not just blowing them up and destroying their economies. We're bringing them here to ruin the citizens' lives here after we do that because we have a conscience.
Yes. There's more to this. Watch this. So we have to, this is George Soros saying that we have to create migrant safe travel lanes and then bring them to their final destinations in European countries. What?
Oh my God.
Which means to bring them
Hang
to
on.
Greece, to Hungary, and then have them to go to Austria. So don't forget that what we are speaking about is not an accidental stories, not a bulk of 10 years of accidental stories. It's a plan which is going on. It was written. It was published. It's known. So we are fighting again an organized gang called Empire of George Soros and NGOs who are just supporting everybody who is transgressing our legal system and our regulation and financing illegal activity against our nation. So this is why the story is not just about migration, but it's about how this European Union is working and how George Soros was able to captive the main positions inside many institutions of European Union, buying out MPs and other leaders, and in order to execute the plan which is written, and it's against all the Christian and nation-based political forces. It's against us. It's about how to change Europe and how to eliminate and push aside all the Christian, conservative, national-based political leaders and voters from the European Union decision-making.
And immediately, the establishment shit liberal media press started calling this guy the next Hitler
Yeah, I remember.
because he
I remember
called
it.
out their plan.
Dude, that show I was working on.
I had a shit lib
Yeah.
in my DMs who I've known for 30 years who was every stupid fucking thing they say on MSNBC, she just spews out of her mouth. She goes, "Oh, well, I know you've cozied up to Tucker Carlson and he admires Viktor Orban."
Oh, the worst.
I go,
of the worst.
"You mean, Viktor Orban isn't doing a genocide right now. You know who is? The person you're out campaigning for." Tucker Carlson's not doing a genocide. You know who is? The person you told me you're going to do everything you can to get her elected. She's doing a genocide. But somehow
Yeah.
Viktor Orban is worse. Tucker Carlson is worse.
I was told to hate them.
Yeah, you were told to hate them. That's called
By
a
richer
received
people.
opinion. That's called a received opinion.
Right, a valid opinion, the one that's given to you by your betters. when I worked on Who Is America, Sasha's show, dude, this is crazy. Because Sasha we kept hammering Assad in these sketches, and like I didn't know shit about it, or like it's not like Saddam Hussein or Osama. You could sink your teeth into that villain. I don't know shit about Assad or care about him. And Sasha's from the old money family. I don't even know how aware he is what he's doing, but they pushed the white helmets.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing about Viktor Orban and how bad it was.
Yes.
And how bad Brexit was. And I didn't know about any of this stuff at the time. And I don't think like I said, I don't know how deliberately his thing is, but he's a rich kid who's a good boy at the end of the day. And if you're a good boy, you're going to take your received opinion and you're going to promulgate it however you can. And
Chomsky also pushed that garbage about Viktor Orban, just like he pushed the garbage about 9/11, just like he pushed the garbage about forced to vote.
JFK.
And he's, so you got to also
pick your battles, Jimmy. You got to pick your battles. Don't tell the truth all the time.
That's right.
That would be insane. Lie sometimes
for
power.
So let's watch the rest of this.
This is the migration about, not just about migration. Sorry for.
So he seems like a monster.
So here, watch this. So here is Del Bigtree. He's interviewing a guy named Jeffrey Jakin, and they're going to talk about this. What about how it's happening in the United States, and about how when he was in Switzerland. Well, first of all, my big question is, how dare this foreigner opine about how we haphazardly opened our borders? Let's listen. Here we go.
This is exactly when I was in Switzerland. A lot of people, the international reporters, were coming up to me and saying, your border situation is finally happening to you. We've been having this for 10 years in Europe. It's destroying our economy. It's destroying our families. It's destroying our livelihood. It's destroying our safety in our countries. And now they're doing it to you in America. We actually thought, they were like, we thought you would stand up against it. We thought your ideas of liberty and freedom would stop this. You had a strong border. What happened? It's really amazing. It is an attack. This is an attack on the sovereignty of the United States of America, and everyone that supports it should really be, I think, considered in some way an enemy to the sovereignty of this nation.
And in the European Union, the entryways for this migration were through the water routes up into Italy, up into Spain and Greece. And then from there, the transfer went from everywhere from Ireland, UK, Germany, Sweden, Austria. I mean, throughout the entire European Union, you see reports of these small towns just being swamped by people that are not from that town, and the resources just can't handle it. And, these AAA bonds that George Soros is talking about is not doing it. But here in the United States, we have our version of that. It's the land gap, the Darien gap. And we had Michael Yan, he's the journalist, combat photographer, has done great work there, bringing several people down there to really see what's going on here. And these NGOs are.
So the Darien Gap is in between North and South America and North America that is you cannot traverse. But now they've figured out a way to get people across it.
Maybe you always could, but it's a secret route to
there.
So there it is. There it is. That's called the Darien Gap. And you know who else went down there to talk about this? Brett Weinstein went down there and talked about this. Here we go. Or maybe it was Eric. I'm not sure. But one of them did.
And these NGOs are rampant down there, really helping. And we can see, I mean, it's no secret either in the media. This is NPR. A record 400,000 migrants have crossed the treacherous Darien Gap to reach the U.S.
400,000. So they have NGOs. What that stands for, a non-governmental organization, which gets funded by people like George Soros, who controls the governments.
Well, he's the forward-facing part of it, like that CEO from the health company. Like, first of all,
let's watch the rest of this.
I'm stepping on something. Yeah, sorry.
In Panama. And then another one here in the Darien. Refugees receive help all along the way. But let's go back. So George Soros, it wasn't his brainchild. As early as 2000, if we want to go back that far, in just recent history, we have the UN, United Nations Population Division. And they produced a white paper. And the literal title of this white paper was called Replacement Migration. And so what does it say in there? It says the number of migrants needed to offset declines in the working age populations are significantly larger than those needed to offset total population decline. So they're admitting there's population decline. Whether those large numbers of migrants are within the realm of options open to governments depends to a great extent on the social, economic, and political circumstances of the particular country or region. So if the appetite socially is there, if the financing is there, if the politics is there, green light it. And that's where George Soros comes in and he says, this is how we make those things palatable. This is how we change the society, open the society, if you will. This is how we finance it. This is how we use politics to do this. And the UN report centered around one of several critical issues. And this was one of them. Policies and programs relating to international migration, in particular replacement migration, and the integration of large numbers of recent migrants and their descendants. So that is the critical issue of how are we going to do this according to the UN.
Yeah.
So this was
Yeah.
this has been in play, and they've been talking about this since 2000. I mean, and you're a traitor for noticing. You're a traitor for you're a racist. You're a traitor. So Trump wins, and just days later, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he's going to stop with the immigration madness in Canada. And then Kier Starmer says the same thing weeks later in the UK.
What changed, I wonder?
What changed?
Will we ever get to know what changed behind the scenes that made this happen? I would love to know. It better not be QAnon related, because I'm going to be mad because I never looked into that because I thought it was stupid. But somebody is afraid and changing their story now.
Isn't that amazing? So
Soros is not the head guy. Okay,
So-
whatever anybody thinks, he's not. He's not.
I was, and I've showed you how Democrats, for years and years, screamed about illegal immigration the same way Donald Trump does, and then all of a sudden they stopped. They stopped at the same time George Soros wrote that editorial.
Mm-hmm.
Even Bernie Sanders used to say it,
And they all stopped.
and then they
What a
all
mystery.
stopped.
It's like the transition from
And they
regular rapidy rap to gangster rap. What happened?
What happened? They all stopped, and then they all turned against Donald Trump, saying what Donald Trump, who was saying exactly what they were saying all those years. They now
They're
called him a
getting paid to say the
racist.
opposite.
They now
They're being paid to go against their thing, and that's what being successful and that's what being a real winner is. Cenk Uygur said he'd rather be populous in the woods
because
and then
because I noticed it.
Yeah.
And I noticed it. And I used to think the same thing. I thought Tucker Carlson was a racist, talking about the great replacement. But when I was like, no, they used to say the same thing. They would call it demographics are destiny.
Wait, can you go back? Because the UN called it replacement. The fucking UN put it in their report, replacement. So it's not a conspiracy. The people that came up with it called it that.
They called it that. And so then they switched it, and so because all the people I know in Hollywood don't have a fucking original thought in their brain, and they don't have a skeptical fiber of their body for mainstream establishment propaganda. They just completely memory hold that every Democrat talked about demographics as destiny. And they wanted to get in Bill Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Bernie Sanders. So we have to stop illegal immigration. We have to make them speak English. They used to say that. We have to make them speak English. We have to deport them. We have to deport them. And then they all stopped. As soon as George Soros wrote that editorial, that all went away.
Okay, keep in mind, George Soros is the George Clooney of op-eds. Do you understand? George Clooney.
Yeah.
They didn't make the decision on George Clooney's call. But Obama got him to do it. So George Soros is, if they didn't like what he's doing, any of these governments, guess what? He'd be dead. The fact that he's alive means the people in power approve of it. He's the guy they put out there for you to, and then they can say you're anti-Semitic. A guy that helped steal Jew stuff during the Holocaust as a kid, they're going to tell you you're anti-Semitic. A guy who hates Judaism and the nations and all that. A pure Epstein-level globalist.
So, again, this is not to get people to hate immigrants.
I think it is, Jimmy.
This
You're saying
is
great replacement theory.
This is to let you know that there's a higher game being played. So I've often said in my act, if you find yourself being angry at someone lower on the economic ladder than you, pretty good chance we're all being manipulated by someone higher on the economic ladder.
Talk.
And that's exactly what this segment reveals.
I'm not going to do conspiracies.
That's exactly what this has
below
been
me.
forced on you. The immigrants, they've wrecked their economy. You think people from Haiti want to move to another country? Nobody wants to leave their home country and move to another country because they're so. The reason what we do is we make them so desperate and poor and wreck their economy, overthrow their governments, like we do all over the world, like we did in Libya, like we did in Somalia, like we did in Sudan, like we did in Iran, like we did in Iraq, like we're trying to do right now in Syria, like we did in Venezuela, in Haiti. This is the game. And J.D. Vance won't tell you that game. I don't know why. Why won't he tell you that game? Because that's being funded by his funders. He'll talk about the Haitian immigrants in a way that helps him politically, but he won't tell you why they're there. He won't tell you what happened. He'll talk about the Venezuelan immigrants and the gangs that came from South America, but he won't tell you how they got here or why they're desperate. He won't tell you because he'd be telling on the funders. So that's what we need to keep in mind. And we need to demand a border. Even the most lefty liberal congressman in my life, Dennis Kucinich, he was so left that the Democrats gerrymandered him out of his own district so they could get rid of him. He says we gotta secure the border. We have to shut it down and secure the border. You don't have a border, you don't have a country, which is exactly what Donald Trump says. So this is a game being played on us, and then they use it to divide us. And they're not just doing it in the United States. Just like Del Bigtree said, they've been doing this for 10 years in Europe. 10 years. The number one name in England for babies, Muhammad. Not that love that name, but that gives you an example of the kind of immigration that's been happening, that they've been flooding the country with. And if you notice it, you're called a racist. If you notice this and call this out, well, now the Prime Minister of the UK is calling it out. And he's pretending like he didn't have anything to do with it. Now that it's already done, it's already done. Okay, over to Steph.
Okay. Hey, I'm noticing on the chat that people are like, hey, can you see my comment? Yes, we can see your comment. Our moderator also came up with when they said, hey, we can see your comment. Then it says, gives us a message, something went wrong, and it goes gray. Your comment is gray. So we've notified Rumble, not sure what's going on, but your comments are coming up, and people are like, fucking mods. The mods aren't dealing with this. So there's a glitch. Maybe refresh or restart your Rumble. I'm not sure, but we'll see how this pans out today. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We are not flies. Thank you very much. My sister had UHC and was denied genetic and tumor tests to try and figure out why treatment wasn't working and cancer spreading. She's dead now. They got to funnel about $2 million for her sick time. We are not flies. Maybe he was really going to try and change the system. That is why he was executed. J.K. Michael. If you piss off enough people, sooner or later, one of them is a hitman. Nothing to cheer. Stop saying Canada has good health care. As a Canadian, it drives me crazy. The health care here is a mirage. It's not good at all. J Pro Plumbing. I'll trade my Two Roads JD show ticket on the 28th for an extra half hour of anesthesia when I go under the knife for a schlong extension surgery. It's going to take a while. Mark Dansky, good luck on your schlong. Could you imagine Taylor Lorenz trying to take out a CEO herself? She can't even get through an interview without bursting into tears. Might be a good skit for Misha. Wesley. Thank you, Wesley. RB Ham, hi again, RB from Canada, eh? Just a reminder to check out your contact email to help me with Give, Send, Go. That's givesendgo.com/RB Ham. Thank you, RB. Back from the road, BNT VP9 is public version. Support Florida small business. Back _ from the road. Jack in a Box just booked to see you at Claridge in AC. Is there a meet and greet? Jack in a Box.
Yes.
There's a meet and greet. There's a meet and greet.
Well, if you buy, should be a, well, let's check. Can you check and make sure they have the meet and greets available for in Atlantic City?
I'm not seeing Elon throw down on the CEO story on X. Wonder how single-payer health care fits into the anti-establishment libertarianism. Kate Cotwas. Universal health care would mean COVID response for government times 100. Current status is not free markets. It's captured corrupt. We need 100% transparency. Crafting with tidbits. Or crafting tidbits.
That doesn't sound free, transparency. That's the government telling them what they could do. I want free.
Michael says, did you know that when Gilead Sciences cured hepatitis C, one of the board members from a very large bank said at Gilead's board meeting, is curing patients a sustainable business model?
It is not.
They
It
never
is
cured
not.
another disease since. All right. Thank you, Michael. Redacted podcast, Natalia and Clayton said the fault FWLT.bad, he died. Jimmy Dore relished in it. Me, ... I don't care. Unvaccinated guy. Do all things with love. Oh my God, Kurt even knows about prions. Well done.
So
Prions.
You have to click on seats for the person about the VIP.
so
You
it
have
doesn't say VIP. No, that's stupid.
Diego de la Vega, Michael Moore, 2007 movie Sicko is about that. People who have had insurance, but their cases are denied, including 9/11 rescuers who he took to Havana, Cuba, where medical attention is 100%
Well, how are people
free.
going to know that it's
Diego
a,
de
it's
la
a
Vega.
VIP?
You want to move your
meet-
mic for me,
Meet and
please?
greets. How are people supposed to know?
This just in. Blank was seen docking with Placone with their pants around their ankles at Dockin concert. Sam, I support you. Thank you, Sam. It's completely unraveling.
Yeah, but
Kuznetsky says it's completely unraveling for the establishment criminals. You think? I'm keeping my fingers crossed. To be clear, Israel isn't bad. Mossad is the problem. Same with the CIA. They publicly brag about breaking the law. The Magna Carta established that the government has to follow the law. We have gone backwards past the Magna Carta. You are correct about that, Michael, and thank you. I heard U.S. health insurance companies are funded by Russian oligarchs and Iran. Arrest the CEOs and close down the companies, then make Medicare for all happen. Peter version 1. When the Allies won World War II, America, big business, was going to get caught in bed with Germany, so they executed out FDR and Patton for finding the bell. Unvaccinated guy. Love your show, Polly. Thank you, Polly. Diddy worked hard all day and he's still hard. Unvaccinated guy. Kurt, start engraving WE we on all your bullets. Omer. John, this is what happens when meeting a SHDVBN an email. Should have been an email. All right, John, thank you. Barb, Park Navy. BOI update. In Texas, judge issued a nationwide injunction on CTA on December 3rd, pending outcome of current case, putting hold on the January 1st deadline for now. Barb, thank you for that, Barb. FYI, ACA is the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare. Melissa, thank you, Melissa. Heard from a bird, Fauci is getting a blanket pardon preemptively. I know, right? Unvaccinated guy. Italy, Mexico, and Iran all have orange, white, and green flags. They all are in a Jesuit pact. Study the history of their flags. Unvaccinated guy. Thank you. All right, let me get back to this. London no longer is British, ... majority Muslim. I only go to Reddit for porn in 15 seconds. T-Box. Amazing stuff about your student. It means you made a difference. I tried. Wasn't that successful all the time. I tried. My mom was a teacher and still gets texts, Facebook message and hugs at the grocery store from many families she taught decades before. Melissa, that is beautiful. That's sweet. Idiots in venues like that would rather sell tickets than fill seats. Dumb. Full seating means more food, drinks, etc. No kidding, Derek. If I have paid into and invested in Social Security accounts, which I'm now drawing on, how can it be an entitlement? It's my account, not a gift. Sound chaser. Social Security liability is like 30 trillion. Total unfunded liabilities is like 220 trillion, but it works. And then you, Conservacuck, you added a usdebtclock.org. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. Stoop sign, deny, delayed, deport. Thank you for that one, Stoop. In my opinion, bring Elon on under the pretense of what are you going to work on with President Trump and how. If you say you want to talk about his comments, he will probably try to avoid it. But once he's on. All right, Derek. Thank you for that. Hemcar, read table of content, House Subcommittee on COVID report. All right, let me share that with the team. Hemcar. All right. Hold on. COVID report. Shared with team. Amigo. Thank you. Let's do this one. Got that. Thank you, Hemcar. Do you think this could be a catalyst for a real revolution? The ruling class is hiring private security. Kate Cott was. What if that private security turns on them? Jay says Kaiser Permanente convinces its subscribers to go to one of their ERs when you're having an emergency. When I got trained as a medic, they took it as far as to have asked who their insurance provider was. Jay. Okay. Here we go. There's no risk of nuclear war with Russia. It's all theater. We warn each other before we send anything. It's all to justify billions in weapons defense contracts and black budgets. Love Angel. Back to Jim Jam.